In this video, I'm going to review how to create invoices, accept payments for invoices, and review the status of an invoice. The first step we're going to take is to check the settings. We want to make sure that the invoice settings do not allow an unpaid invoice to be accounted for in the sales. If the setting is not properly set, your numbers may be off. So what you're going to do is you're going to hover over this navigation menu on the left, and you're going to press settings. And you're going to scroll down, you're going to locate payment methods, you're going to click that, and then you're going to locate payment by invoice. And you're going to press this edit icon on the right, and you're going to look down here to skip updating reports until invoice is fully paid. That basically prevents the system from adding that invoice as an actual payment before it's actually paid. So you want to make sure that this is enabled. So right now it's enabled. If it's not, select enabled and press save changes. Next, we're going to create our first invoice, and in order to do this, you need to start the process like a normal transaction. So from this window, we're going to go ahead and go to point of sale on the left-hand side. We'll let those products load, and once they've loaded, we're going to start adding products to the cart. So let's add some pineapple, tomato, add some dragon peppers, and let's add a button-up shirt. And here you can see your products in the cart, so it's like just like if you're putting a normal transaction in your store. And you're going to scroll down to checkout. And in the center of the screen, you have a bunch of different payment methods, cash, credit cards, check payment, which is usually what you're probably used to. But if you're going to be transitioning to accepting invoices, we're going to go ahead and select payment by invoice. And if you scroll down, you see assign customer. So in order to create the invoice, you do have to assign it to a customer. So we have some customers in here. So I added Anna and I've added Thomas. So you can select one of these customers from this list, or if you have someone new in front of you or a new business in front of you that you want to assign this invoice to, you can click create. And let's call this Mary, Mary at her email, you can put date of birth, and here you can add the billing address, 123 Main Street, New York, Illinois, 1001. Add a phone number, a county, and if the shipping address, let's say you're shipping products to this customer, you can use the same as the billing here, or you can manually enter a different shipping address. So you can press save changes, and here it automatically assigns it to Mary. If you click X, if you try to click create invoice, it won't let you because you have to assign it to a customer. So let's assign this to Tom. Actually, let's assign this to Anna. Okay, I'm going to select Anna, and then we're going to click create invoice. And so here under payments, it's not going to show cash or anything like that. It's going to say invoice, and you just want to confirm that transaction the same way you would confirm a cash or card transaction. And below you have the option to print the receipt, email the receipt, download the invoice, or email the invoice. And so it's totally up to you what you want to do. And you can press back to products to start a new transaction. Next, we're going to go over how to view the status of an invoice. So the best way to do that is to go back to the dashboard for the POS. You're going to go to Sales on the left-hand side. And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to select Invoices. And here in this window, you'll be able to view all the invoices you've ever created, any that are paid, past due, or due. Up here, you can filter them by the date, the status, so due, paid, past due, and the customer name. So we had like Thomas or Anna, and so forth. And you can select those, but we're not going to filter that right now. We're just going to look at this window. So let's look at the first one. So the first one we see is the one that we created for Anna. And here we have the invoice date and time, the amount that the invoice was for, how much was paid towards that invoice, and the status. And that's probably the most important for you to know if that invoice was paid at all. Here we have some options for what you can do with that invoice. You have the option to edit an invoice. Let's say you're adding some sort of product to that invoice, you can do that here. So you can click that, or you can remove an item. So let's say they don't want that tomato anymore. You can remove that tomato. You can still apply discounts, and you can confirm and edit right here. We're not going to do that. We're actually just going to go back to where we were. So let's go back to Invoices, go to Sales, Invoices. And so yeah, so that's how you do that. You can view the invoice. This kind of is just generic. We just want to view it on the computer. You still have the option to print the invoice from here. Let's go back. And here you have statement PDF. They essentially are the same thing. So let's look at statement right here. This lets them know what their balance is due, what balance is due. And here kind of gives a breakdown of those different products. So that's the PDF option. So let's close those. Yeah, and if you wanted to delete the invoice itself, you can click that here. So like I said, the main focus for us right now is the status of this invoice. So let's work on getting that invoice paid. So in order to accept a payment for an invoice, you're going to have to return to the shopping cart. So let's go to point of sale. Here you have your cart. So we always recommend, instead of adding a product to the cart with a value, if you have an open cash register item, maybe you want to create one specifically for this, a $0 item, you're going to add that to the cart. This way, if you forget to move this in the next steps, it won't affect the balance of the invoice. So once you've added that $0 item, press checkout, and here you have choose payment method, assign customer, assign invoice. So we want to assign this invoice so that we can pull that data from the invoice and then accept payment for it. So under assign invoice, if you click that, it says no selection. You don't see any of the invoices that you saw earlier. And that's because you have to choose a specific customer to pull that data from. So if we go to Mary's a customer we created together, but you see that there's no selection because we didn't assign an invoice to Mary. So let's go to Thomas. And under Thomas, there were 2 invoices. And here you only see one because the other one was paid. But let's assign Anna since that's the one we created together. And under assign invoice, we're going to select the $12.44 invoice. And underneath, you see the cart still has a $0 item. You're going to press load cart from invoice. And that's going to populate all the different items from that invoice. And you do have the option to remove certain items. So let's say they're only going to pay for the tomato and pineapple today, and the next time they'll pay for the button up and the dragons. You can then just remove button up and dragons and leave tomato and pineapple. But for right now, we're just going to keep that there. So now your balance is $12.44 as it was on the invoice. So you can accept payment, cash, credit card, gift cards, check payment, whatever it is that you that they're going to pay with. You're going to select that. So we're just going to do, for the sake of time, we're going to do order amount. So we receive the full amount in cash. Here you can see that payment, $12.44. Then we're going to press confirm. And here we have that receipt. You can print the receipt or you can email that receipt to the customer. You can go back to products to do a new transaction, or we can go ahead and look at the status of that invoice. So we're going to go up to dashboard. I'm going to hover over here, go back to sales, same process as before. We're going to select invoices at the top. And here we have Anna, that was the $12.44 balance. And here we have the status paid. You can edit it, view it, you can print the statement just like before. So here we have that statement, and here you see before it said $12.44 balance, and now it says 0. That's because that balance was paid in full. I'm going to go back here, PDF. Here we have the breakdown of the items and the total. So this is just specific to the invoice. This doesn't tell you anything other than that. So you do want to use this statement as reference for what was paid and what's left over. And again, you have the option to delete it. And that is how you create an invoice, edit, modify, view statements, delete invoices, and pay towards or pay the entire balance of an invoice.